All right, so today what we're going to do is we're going to begin our look at fractions, but we're going to be using the calculator to do them. Now, we've done some things already where we did not use a calculator, and that's because you can't. Right? Now, you could use the calculator to help you do the division to find out what number to divide by, but when you're finding all those LCMs and GCFs, etc., you can't really do that with the calculator without doing each one independently and then putting them all together, and that's a nightmare. But you can use it to use your division. You will be able to use the calculator on the assessment. Okay? So, what we need to do is we need to talk about using it to be able to do operations with fractions. Now, it's quite straightforward once you get it, but you need to practice it because I will not be telling you how to do this on the day of the assessment. Right? So if you say, oh, Mr. Self, I've forgotten my calculator, what am I going to say? I'm so sorry. It's going to be really hard for you to finish this assessment, isn't it? Or you're going to say, Mr. Self, I've forgotten how to use my calculator to add two fractions. I'm going to go, oh, I'm so sorry. Then I guess you're not going to get that question, are you? Right? Because assessment day is not the day for you to learn new things. Assessment day is the day for you to demonstrate what you know, right? So I will not answer any mathematical questions on the day of the assessment. Now, if you don't understand the meaning of a word, I'll answer that all day long. Yeah? But how to do something, or is this correct, whatever, those are not appropriate questions, right? And I won't answer them. So make sure that you're paying close attention to what we're doing. Yeah? It's important that you understand how to use the calculator because we use technology to do math, right? So you're going to use the technology. Here we go. So what we're going to do first is we're going to talk about a couple of different keys on your calculator. And the first key that I want to talk about is the fraction key. And this is the button that you're going to use when you enter a calculator. Now, first I'm just going to identify the key. And everybody want to look on your calculator and find it. And then I'm going to talk to you about how to use it. Okay? The fraction key on your particular calculator has a little white box over a little empty box. It's right under, there's a shift, then down below that is ABS, and then right below that is the fraction key. Now, it will be different on others. If you have the big graphics calculator, then what it's going to look like is it's your ABC key. All right? So if you have one of those white graphics calculators. Now, if you have some other oddball calculator, it might be a different key. And we'll look at it and see. Okay? But you were told to get this specific brand, so hopefully you have this. All right. Everybody see that key? Okay? It's pretty straightforward. Now, to use it, all you're going to do is you're going to put in your numerator. Which part is the numerator? And the top number, right? Then you're going to hit your fraction key. And then you're going to put in your denominator. But it will not work unless you then hit the equals symbol, or on your graphics calculator, it's the EXE at the bottom. Execute. That's the equals key on those graphics calculators. Okay? So, practice this one for me. Put in 12 over 46. So 12 is your numerator, then hit the fraction key, then type in 46, and then you must hit equals afterwards. What do you notice about your answer at the bottom? It's simplified. What is it equal to? So your calculator will automatically simplify the fractions for you as you enter them. Okay? So you won't have to worry about simplifying fractions. They're already going to be that way. So if you have a fraction just to simplify, you can simply enter it in your calculator, hit equals, and get the simplified version. Okay? Instead of dividing the numerator and denominator by the same number. We can also do operations with them. But to do operations with them, you must be very careful. Because if you just put in a fraction and then hit times, not going to happen unless you hit that enter first, that equals first. Because if you don't do that, what's going to happen is it's going to only be multiplying in the denominator because that's where you were last. So the calculator thinks that's where you're still working. Okay? So you have to hit that equals. So do this one for me. Do 1/2 times 3/4. Remembering that after you enter each fraction, before you hit anything else, you have to do enter. So the other option is to use those buttons in the middle of the top. Right? Those are your arrow keys. If you arrow over, you tab out of the denominator, you can do that as well. Okay? Either way. So whatever you like to do, perfectly fine. Just make sure that when you start an operation that you get out of the denominator of the fraction. Okay? Lots of different ways of doing that. All right. Now, what I do not want you to do is I do not want you to put in a fraction as 1 divided by 2. I want you to enter it as an actual fraction because then the calculator will hold it as a fraction and we can use it for stuff. All right? So get used to using them as the fraction key. Now, if you did do it as that, what's going to happen is it's always going to turn it into it'll do the division, which will turn it into a decimal. And we don't want that. We want to use the fraction key because I want my answer to be returned as a fraction. Okay? Now, later when we're in the decimal section, I'll talk to you about that. But right now, we're just working on fractions. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the book and we're going to work on some assignments in the book that are fractions. And you're going to just practice using your calculator. Now, here's what I want you to do, though. Let's say it's number 1, and it's A, and it's 1/2 plus 3/4. I must see the number, whatever part that is of the number, and I want to see you write down the original problem. Because if I just see 3/8, I will make you redo the entire assignment. You write down the problem because otherwise you have no idea what that 3/8 means. Do you see my point? So you must write down the problem because it needs to be the problem and then the answer. Okay? The calculator can do the math for you, but you have to lay it out properly. All right? And so we're going to look at some of those. We're going to go to the textbook. Hold on just one moment. So some of these fractions will be negative. But remember the rules. A fraction is just a division problem, right? So you could put the minus in front of the fraction. Or more commonly, if there's a minus in front of the fraction, we generally put that minus in the numerator. And it's a really good habit to get into. So if there's a minus in front of it, when you enter it into your calculator, put it in the numerator. When it does the final answer, it'll put it back in the right spot when you're done. But make sure you get used to the fact that if a fraction is negative, we usually put that negative with which part? The numerator. It just makes your life easier when you go forward and these fractions get bigger if you put that negative in the numerator. Okay? So some of them will be negative. So don't forget. You can also enter what are called improper fractions into your calculator. You would just hit 2, and then you could put in the rest of the fraction. All right? So you can input those as well. So pay attention when you're putting those in as you go as well, because you can have improper fractions. And here they're talking about that negative. Don't ever put it in the denominator. It doesn't make any sense in the denominator. Always put it in the numerator. Okay? Now, here's an example of where they're just placing them on the number line. You're going to be doing that. So let's just describe these as either proper fractions, improper fractions, or mixed numbers. So look at 2/7. 2/7, is the numerator smaller than the denominator? So that's a proper fraction. 8/5. Is the numerator bigger than the denominator? The numerator is bigger this time, yes? So that's an improper fraction. And then finally, 5 1/3. You notice there's a whole number and a fraction? That's a mixed number. Okay? So be prepared for that. Okay. To convert a mixed number to a proper fraction, you can just use your calculator. Just think of the number in front as being multiplied. But it's got to be 3/4. So remember the process then? On your calculator, let's see, I don't remember on that one. On your calculator, it's quite easy, the graphics calculator. But on the others, there's another set of keystrokes. Let's look at those. All right, for you guys, come on, hold on. Shh. To do this, you're going to enter this fraction into your calculator, you're going to hit Shift. Do you see the Shift key? It's right next to the alpha key, the little round button at the top. And then you're going to hit that button, the regular fraction button, and it's going to give you a place to put all the pieces that you need to put in. Okay? So I think you might have to enter the number first. Hold on just one moment. So you put 1, then Shift. Yes. Okay? So here's the way you'll do it. First, put in your whole number. Second, hit Shift. Third, hit the fraction bar. Fourth, put in numerator and denominator. Now you'll have to do that, you're going to have to move up and down, which are these little keys in the middle to make you move up and down between the boxes. And then you hit enter. Okay. And it's going to automatically convert from a mixed number into an improper fraction. Okay? So you should get 7/4. All right? So it's easy to convert them when you just put them in the calculator. So put in your whole number first, then Shift, then the fraction bar. If you don't hit Shift first, it's going to put 13/4, which is not the right answer. Okay? All right. So you'll be doing some of those. All right. So in some cases, you're going to be asked to change your denominator. Okay? Now, your calculator can do the math for you, but it cannot change the denominator for you. So you're still going to have to do some math. To change the denominator, guys, focus. Okay? First of all, you simply divide the new denominator, because they want you to change it to a certain number that they have to give you. We'll look at an example. Divide the new denominator by the original denominator. Yes. Second, multiply that quotient. And why do I call it a quotient? It's the answer when you, what? What is a quotient? The answer when you do what? Divide. The answer when you divide is called a quotient. Times the numerator. Because you're not allowed to change the denominator without also changing the numerator. Okay? Third, put that new numerator over the new denominator. Okay? And so remember, you can change the fraction, you can change the denominator to any number you want it to be. But if you do that, you have to change the numerator to match. And that's easy simply by finding out what our multiplier is, and by using division. Okay? All right, guys, so let's say we have 3/10, and I want to change it to an equivalent fraction that has a denominator of 20. There you go. So all I need to do is find out what my multiplier is. In this case, it's easy. 20 divided by 10 is a what? 2. So I just need to multiply the top by 2, which gives me 6/20. Okay? And it doesn't matter what numbers you have, it's always the same process. Take your new denominator and divide it by your original, then take that answer times the numerator. Super easy, but you're going to have to memorize the process so you'll know when to divide and when to multiply. So let's go to the book and look at some of these. We're going to do these together, a couple, and then I'm going to call on you. Right? So here, we want this denominator to be a 20. So it's 3/4. So I'm going to take 20 divided by what? By 4, because it's 3/4. And I want that to turn that into a 20. 20 divided by 4 is 5, and 5 times 3 is 15. All right? That's all there is to it. Now, look at this one. This one looks a little different. A little dinner. Okay. But as long as you use your calculator to do the division, it's fine. Put in 20 divided by, what's your original denominator? No, it's not 2. 20 divided by... All right, so we took 20 divided by 40, gave us 0.5. We times that times the 26 to give us 13. Okay? So we'll do some more of those. Here we go. I'm going to call on somebody for the answer.